So tonight, AEW celebrated the life of Mark Briscoe. I'm sorry, Jay Briscoe. Mark wrestled tonight. Surprise wrestling match with Jay Lethal. We have a 30th anniversary of Raw to go over. Let's do this. Hoy me, hoy me, hoy. All right. Episode 50, people. We did it. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Congratulations to me and all of you who subscribe and who tune in every week and who talk on the chat. Thank you, everybody. It's pretty cool little milestone here, episode 50. You only ever have one first 50th episode, unless I rebrand and do this all over again. But, yeah, 50 episodes. Cool. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about. Last week we talked about Vince coming back. I don't know if we talked about this. Oh, yeah, we did talk about this because the Bucks had on the Briscoe bands last week. So, in a surprising turn of events, Warner Brothers Discovery now is okay with allowing any of the Briscoes to be mentioned or featured on AEW television. Obviously, this was originally this ban or what have you, or this declaration that they could not be on television was due to some homophobic remarks that the Briscoes had done earlier in their career, which they've since profusely apologized for over the course of the last 10 years. Warner Brothers and Discovery were not too keen on featuring them on television until now. There's somehow Tony Khan, I don't know who, the fans, but enough of an outcry was there for one of the more influential tag teams of the last several years, so the Briscoes, to be featured on television, and it looks like they were able to get their wish. Only a couple of weeks after Jay Briscoe died, Mark Briscoe, one half of the current ROH Tag Team Champions, is in the main event tonight against Jay Lethal. So that's a big deal. But I guess before we get into Dynamite, we got to talk about Raw. And not just about the monster ratings that they did. Almost 3 million. They actually did better than SmackDown does. This is the best rating for Raw in the last 3 years. But that first hour of Raw, I mean, had to have been one of the best first hours of Raw in recent memory. I mean, I can't remember a beginning of Monday Night Raw that I went back on YouTube and watched. I mean, I've gone back and watched segments and matches on SmackDown, but not Raw. I mean, not in a really, really long time. So let's go over that first because it really was noteworthy. And the road to the Royal Rumble continues. Royal Rumble is this Saturday. Man, this is the most hype I've been for a Rumble, and I don't even know how long. I mean, the last several years of Royal Rumbles, I really haven't cared. I just watched for the sake of watching. But I mean, I care about the matches. I care about who's going to be winning the Rumble. What's going on with Roman. I doubt that Kevin Owens is going to walk away with the titles at Rumble. I do think that Roman's time is coming. I don't think it's now. I think it's Mania. He's had the belt for over 2 years. I think whatever story you've told with Roman, it has to have already, it's near its end. 2 years is a long enough build and storytelling and what they've been doing with Sammy and Jey Uso. They've been building this stuff for a really long time. And I would assume the payoff is the bloodline. I mean, the only way this works is that the bloodline goes full heel on Sammy. Sammy ends up teaming up with Kevin Owens, and they go after the Usos and take the tag titles. And Cody begins a program with Roman. So, like, I feel like the walls have to start closing in around Roman. And I think the threat of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and the threat of Cody is enough to finally bring down the bloodline. You know what I mean? Like, it has to end. Like, it has to end. And the end, the ultimate end of it is Roman losing one or both of those titles. I mean, storyline wise, it has to be heading there. You know what I mean? Like, now I know that the fandom is kind of, I don't want to say split, but there are different opinions as to how this should go down. Some people are saying that with the build that Sammy's been given for the last several months, you know, with the bloodline, he has to be the guy to beat Roman. But I don't think, I just don't see it. Like, I don't see Sami Zayn beating Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, probably the longest reigning champion in the history of the WWE, 100% the longest reigning champion of the modern era. And it's going to be the flunky of the group, Sami Zayn. I mean, let's be real. Sami Zayn is the comedy relief, but like, they've made him into a very endearing character. Like, he's funny, but you want to root for him. He was this little puppy that just wanted this guy to love him, and it finally fucking happened. And now that he's got everything that he wants, now here's the looming threat of Kevin Owens that's starting to chip away at this foundation that's been built. Kevin Owens, who is the longtime frenemy of Sami Zayn going back decades, even before they were in WWE. You know, they were feuding in Ring of Honor. They were feuding in PWG. They were feuding in NXT. They feuded on the main roster already. They are each other's Batman and Joker. Like, they will feud forever. And these guys switch roles as to who's going to be the face and who's going to be the heel and so on and so forth. And I just feel like the guy who really has had the longest meaningful relationship with Sami Zayn, which is Kevin Owens, should be the guy to help him take out the last piece of the puzzle when it comes to the bloodline. You know what I mean? Cody, I feel like Cody, I do feel that Cody is going to win the Royal Rumble. When he's going to come in the Royal Rumble, I don't know. I feel like it builds to the story. They had, like, I think the last guy who won from the beginning, someone told me it was Edge. Is that fucking for real? Edge? I don't know, but I would have liked Cody to come in at, like, number 1 or 2 and go the distance. You know what I mean? He's the guy who fought, Seth Rollins with a torn pec in Hell in the Cell. He came back at Mania, like he was the guy, he was one of the founding fathers of AEW, the only real, and call it what you will, but they are, competition to the WWE in terms of the marketplace and the fandom. I say what you will about the legitimacy of AEW, but they pull from the same pool. No. Okay, so Josh says it may have been Rey Mysterio. If that's the case, they haven't had someone win from the beginning in over 20 years. So, like, I do feel like if you're going to take out the longest reigning champion of the modern era and you're going to start a build for Cody, and remember, Cody's only had, maybe a handful of matches in the WWE since his return, and then he got injured and we haven't seen him since Hell in a Cell. So, like, you kind of want to, like, put the rocket on this guy the second he comes back. And the only way I could think of putting the rocket on him is by having him win the Rumble. Now, you want to put some nitrous in that rocket, then you have him win at, like, 1 or 2, you know? Because I feel like Cody coming in at 30 and just beating the last couple of guys, like, it just doesn't feel like it fits his blue-collar underdog kind of root for this guy character that he's built for himself. But I feel like it has to be Cody. It has to be Cody and so, like, when it comes to Roman and Cody, the only catalyst is that Cody is out for his destiny. And the only person in the way of his destiny is Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns wants to never give up the title ever and wants to be the top dog in the company for forever. So that destiny is in direct conflict with Cody, who wants to win the belt. That's the motive. That's the storyline right there. Even if you don't have any build, this is definitely it. So, like, what I'm trying to say is that, like, I feel like Cody is more poised to be the guy, and let Sammy beating the Usos, that could still be personal. You know what I mean? Like, the Usos love Sammy right now. Like, okay, well, you know, like, let's go over Raw, and we'll go over this in a little bit more detail. So, Raw started with, okay, so this was supposed to be the acknowledgement ceremony where every generation of the bloodline was supposed to be on hand. Now, if you listen to rumors and speculation, the rumors and speculation were that this was supposed to be the launch point for Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And obviously, because The Rock and Roman Reigns are related in real life, this would be the perfect opportunity for The Rock to come in and challenge Roman's claim as head of the table and actually have a really good defense as to why an argument could be made The Rock should be the head of the table. The Rock is the most famous man in the entire world. He made a killing in wrestling. He made a even bigger killing in the land of entertainment in Hollywood. So, like, The Rock is the guy who made it and made that family something. You know what I mean? Any single time you hear someone from The Rock's family mentioned, it's always in some mention of The Rock. The Usos are related to The Rock. Roman Reigns is related to The Rock. Nia Jax is related to The Rock. Solo Sikoa is related to The Rock. You see where I'm going? So, like, their claim to fame is that they're related to someone who's super fucking popular. All right? Which is the fucking Rock. So, that was supposed to be that was going to be the route that they were going to go. But apparently, if you listen to rumor and speculation, The Rock said that he basically was not going to be able to get into the shape he needed to be to put on the performance that he wanted. So that's why The Rock didn't show up. That's why it became the trial of Sami Zayn over social media. Wasn't even something that was broadcasted on any of the actual AEW programming. So they changed it. The Rock wasn't in it. So it's got to be Cody, all right? It's got to be fucking Cody. Now, is it possible that they could make a good enough storyline to make me want Sami Zayn to do it? Yeah, the foundation is there. I just don't see Sami Zayn being the guy, because this is the problem. This is what people don't understand. It's not just about him winning the title. Then he has to hold it, defend it, and then eventually lose it. And I don't think most people could book beyond him winning the title. That's pretty much what happened with fucking Kofi Kingston. The whole point of him was to win the belt. But after that, they had no plan on what he should do with the belt. So they put him in a really, really long-term storyline against the guy that it looked like it was feasible that he could beat. But the second they put him in there with a monster, Brock Lesnar, he drops the belt in 7 seconds. So it's like, yeah, Sammy wins. Now he has to defend it. Now he'll probably have to beat Roman Reigns a second fucking time. No gimmicks or any of that. If he wins via some sort of fuckery the first 2 times, then you have the same problem that you had with Liv Morgan, where Liv Morgan won in fluke ways and she was a fucking joke of a champion. Like, I couldn't take her seriously. Every single time that she won, it was by the skin of her teeth or by some trickery or whatever. And she puts herself in matches where she just can't beat anyone straight up. And they took that belt from her fucking quick. All right, see, Edge doing it in 2021 is fucking ridiculous, all right? Edge being like 50 fucking years old and winning the Rumble at the beginning is fucking dumb. So I'm so glad I wasn't watching Raw or SmackDown then, because that's fucking stupid. That's fucking dumb. All right? That's like if we had like Sting, if like AEW had Sting win like the Casino Battle Royal. You know what, actually, I don't even put it past AEW to have Sting win the Casino Battle Royal and having a title shot. Oh my God. Anywho, so this is like the trial of Sami Zayn. I'm going to skip over Hulk Hogan and his mic not working. Nobody fucking cares. The only thing I'm going to go over in Raw is the tribal court of Sami Zayn and then the tag title match, and everything else on Raw really didn't fucking matter. Sure, you could say, all right, Undertaker passed the torch to Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt still hasn't had a match. None of this shit matters until he fucking starts wrestling and having matches. That's all I got to say. To me, like, all the point of promotions and video packages and all this shit is to lead up to the match. The main focus of anything in wrestling should ultimately be what happens in the ring. So far, Bray Wyatt hasn't done anything in the ring. He's done stuff on the ring, like he's had a, I don't know, like, whatever, anything. He's had promos. He's Sister Abigail'd himself. He gets a pat on the back by Undertaker. Where's it all going? It's got to lead somewhere. Until it has some sort of finish, it's really the only thing I care about. Anywho, Sami Zayn looks pretty down. The crowd's chanting Sami. Paul Heyman gets ECW chants. He pretty much said ECW is dead, and he wishes the same for Sami Zayn. It's just crazy how Paul turned on Sami so fast. But, like, they had to do, I guess they had to do something if The Rock wasn't going to be in it. If you believe the reports, like, the point of no return on him committing was, like, around now. So, like, whatever sort of booking they were doing, they knew that it had to start tonight. And there would only be enough time for them to tell the story they needed to tell if they started no later than tonight. And if The Rock couldn't make it, then they had to go with plan B. Yeah, Royal, 100%. LA Knight is going to come out of this. Like, LA Knight's going to come out of this like a big deal. You know what I mean? Because Bray Wyatt is already a big deal. So you're putting LA Knight like in a pretty good spotlight. You know what I mean? That's another reason I want this match to go well, because I believe LA Knight deserves to be like a top guy on the main roster. He has a great look, he could talk, and he's a solid wrestler. You know what I mean? So, like, put him up there. You know what I mean? Put him the fuck up there. He should be a guy that is challenging Cody for the title within the next, like, 6 months. I wouldn't even mind if it was a Cody versus LA Knight, like, SummerSlam main event. More than likely, it'll probably be Cody versus Rollins, because there's a story that they've been telling with Rollins and Cody, and I feel like they're going to be each other's, like, rivals all throughout this time. Like, I just think, like, Roman is just, like, a stepping stone for whatever they're going to do with Cody in the future, and then I'm hoping they're going to just start other shit with Roman. My other thing that I'm hoping is that Cody splits the belts. He becomes the champion on Raw. He puts up the SmackDown title. There's a tournament. Roman inevitably wins. He becomes champ. And then you could do whatever the fuck you want to do with Roman on SmackDown, because it's clear that, like, they don't really know what... I don't think they know what to do with Roman without a title belt. You know what I mean? Because the whole point of Roman is he's the guy. He is the best. If you want to be the top guy on SmackDown, if you want to be the top guy in WWE, you got to beat Roman Reigns. So it's like, but without him having the title, he's not really top guy, is he? The top guy is really supposed to be the champ. So it's like, I don't think they know what to do with Roman outside of him having a belt, unless, like, he's going to have some sort of feud with someone. You know what I mean? So maybe he has a feud with Sami Zayn, and maybe you have Sami Zayn beat him in, you know, a non-title match. Honestly, I think Sami could take the loss. Roman can't take another loss. I would say, like, if you were going to do, like, a Sami and Roman post-title Roman feud, have Roman win. Sami shouldn't be beating Roman Reigns. Like, he's, like, an upper mid, like, he's in a main event group, but I don't think, like, Sami Zayn's, like the guy. Like at one point in time, I thought he would be, and I think, like, he's built enough of a fan base and enough of a body of work that it could happen. I just don't think it's right now, and I don't think it should be against Roman. I think it should be against somebody else. Who that could be, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Anywho, Heyman calls Zayn a Judas and a betrayer. He shows evidence of like he shows video clips of like Sammy running away from the Usos getting beat up and him accidentally shoulder bumping Roman, and he called it an assassination attempt and blah blah blah. So basically, Zayn said that he had a whole defense lined up, but after seeing all this, he's just really hurt. He doesn't want to say anything. He doesn't want to have to defend himself. He thinks this is all bullshit. You know what I mean? He's done enough for the bloodline that in Sammy's eyes, he feels like his loyalty is above reproach. It should not be questioned. And Roman is just incensed by this. And he's just livid. And he's like, you know, I give you opportunity after opportunity, and I do this, and I let you into my family, and you don't even want to defend yourself. Like, this is the thanks I get for giving you all this stuff. And he just he screams for Solo. Solo goes up to behind Sammy, puts his hand on his shoulders, about to give him the freaking Samoan spike. And out of all people to stop the fucking execution of Sami Zayn, it was Jey Uso, the one guy who Sammy just could not win over in the bloodline. Jimmy, he was cool with. Roman, he was cool with. Solo was indifferent, but that's as good as you're going to get with Solo. You know, Paul Heyman liked him. It was only Jey that was the holdout. And it took forever, and it finally took War Games for Sammy to take out Kevin Owens and give Jey that pin to finally make a mark on Jey Uso. Jey Uso, I hope I got the Usos right, because I swear to God. All right, cool. Jey Uso goes, and he has his own footage. It's footage of Sammy taking a Claymore to be saved. I'm sorry, to save Roman. All these times, Sammy's taking hits, chair shots, spears, jackhammers, all this shit. They also show footage of War Games with Sammy literally being the guy to help them win the whole thing. And Jay said that this guy's taken so many bullets for the bloodline, he might as well be bulletproof. Zayn never gave up on Jey, even though Jey hated him. He said that's what family does. He said anyone who wants to see Sammy stay in the bloodline, put your ones to the sky. And the entire crowd obviously put up their ones. Jimmy did. The only people who didn't were Solo, Roman, and Heyman. But both of the Usos did. Reigns determined that Zayn was not guilty. He basically wanted Zayn to thank Jey for buying him time. Reigns suggested that Zayn make him proud tonight. He didn't want to see him again until the Royal Rumble, where he would face his final test to determine whether or not he was in the bloodline or not. Sammy hugged Jey and Jimmy as the others left the ring. It was about a 30-minute segment. So, that was one of the better Raw segments I've seen in a really, really long time. I think this is the best storyline that they got going right now. Excuse me. This is the best storyline that they got going on right now. It's the best thing going on in pro wrestling right now, better than anything that's going on in AEW. The way they've been doing this has been fantastic. I'm hoping that The Rock not showing up doesn't derail their plans, that we still get a good payoff to this, because let's be honest, there aren't a lot of long-term stories in WWE. A lot of these things get changed week to week, so it's hard to really stay invested in stuff anymore, but this is a story I've actually gotten to invest into over the course of time, to the point where I'm like, I need to watch SmackDown, or I need to watch Raw, so I can keep up with this Sami Zayn Roman Reigns storyline. Any single time Roman Reigns music hits, I immediately sit up in my chair and start paying attention, because I know I'm about to see must-see television. So this has been fantastic. I hope the payoff ends up being as great as the build has been. Like I said, this is one of the best things that's going on in wrestling. The following match was the Usos defeating Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio to retain the Raw Tag Team titles. Jimmy gets injured during the match. They were about to forfeit the titles when Sammy suggested that he jumped in for this for the injured Jimmy. So it was Sammy and Jay against the Judgment Day for the tag titles. A couple of times where I really thought Sammy was going to get fucking pinned and this was going to be the beginning of the end of the bloodline and Sammy fucking up. So, but no, that didn't happen. They used that as just another link in the chain of this entire bloodline storyline where now Sammy is absolutely directly responsible for the Usos still being the undisputed tag team champions in the WWE. So I'm assuming we won't see Sammy at SmackDown based on the fact that Roman says he doesn't want to see him at all, or maybe I don't know, but something big's going to go down at the Rumble regarding this. Another piece of the puzzle is going to happen for this long-term storyline regarding the bloodline, and I could not be happier. This is a fantastic story. On to tonight's episode of Dynamite. Tonight's episode of Dynamite was very special. It was a tribute show to, well, actually the real tribute show is on YouTube right now. Apparently it's like a 3-hour show of tribute matches that they filmed after Dynamite, and some clips of the Briscoes' best matches, and interviews with friends and family of Jay Briscoe. So that's on YouTube now for anyone to see. Tonight's card, pretty stacked. Obviously, it's going to be centered around Mark Briscoe versus Jay Lethal. The TNT title is on the line. Darby Allin versus the House of Black's Buddy Matthews. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, Les Sex Gods, are up against Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. The Acclaimed and the Guns have Family Therapy. Jungle Hook versus Ethan Page and Matt Hardy, and I have some opinions on Jungle Hook. Tony Storm versus Ruby Soho. Originally, it was supposed to be Britt Baker versus Tony Storm versus Ruby Soho in like a triple threat, but apparently Britt was injured, which I'm not sure what's going on based on what happened tonight, but we'll go over that in the review. And Brian Cage versus Bryan Danielson, as Bryan Danielson continues his quest to fight MJF at Revolution in the 60-minute Iron Man match. So the night starts off with, let's see. The night starts off with like Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. They defeat the team of Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. Obviously continuing the storyline of both Ricky and Action Andretti holding victories over Chris Jericho. The continuing storyline of Sammy Guevara basically mentoring Daniel Garcia, and Chris Jericho dealing with the fact that he not only lost 2 times in a row, but one of them was to a guy who's been wrestling for less than 3 years. So this was a pretty solid opener. Great tag match. They gave Action Andretti a lot of spotlight. The kid's pretty talented. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with him in the future. Honestly, I think that AEW owes it to themselves to have like a rookies tournament every once in a while of guys who are like in the undercard who really don't get like their time to shine, but like have them have like a tournament for like the TNT belt or like the All Atlantic title, but like make it, or like they could have their pick at whatever singles title they want, but it's a tournament entirely made up of young guys like just have an opportunity to showcase themselves. There's a lot of talented cruiserweights in AEW. I think it'd be nice. I mean, actually make that as a tournament like solely for Rampage. That would get me interested in watching Rampage if Rampage had an exclusive tournament that was only on Rampage that ended up leading to a main event that was only on fucking Rampage. Like, make something exclusive to Rampage that makes it be like, all right, I'm not going to get any sort of follow-up on this on Dynamite. I might as well watch Rampage. So I think that'd be a good idea. So anywho, Andretti and Guevara, they were all over the place, flipping and running around. Obviously, they were showing off the fact that they're young and athletic and very flippy. So that was some pretty cool shit. We got to see Jericho do the cocky pin, which was freaking awesome. We don't get to see him do that often. Then Sammy Guevara did it, which I thought was kind of hysterical. This ended up going off the rails with Garcia hitting Andretti in the face with a baseball bat, and Sammy Guevara getting the pin. So they got, the JAS got a much-needed victory. They've been losing a lot of their matches lately, so this win still lets people know that this snake still got fangs. They still have the numbers that they could use to overwhelm everybody, so they will always be a threat to whoever they step in the ring with. Excalibur put on a video tribute for Jay Briscoe. It talked about his rise in Ring of Honor. It had clips of Jay's family, his daughters. It was pretty good. You could actually tell that Excalibur was very moved, and he had a hard time reading off whatever he was supposed to be reading off in terms of like the next match and who was coming to the ring. The following match was the TNT title match. Darby Allin defeats Buddy Matthews to retain the TNT title. This is Darby Allin's fourth successful defense in as many weeks. He has stacked up an impressive catalog of victories. He beat Kushida. He beat Samoa Joe. He beat Buddy Matthews. I'm trying to remember who else he beat. I know that there was another person that he had beat, but I can't remember. But the guy has been putting his body through hell. In every single match, he's getting more and more beat up. This match, he had his leg taped up after what happened the following week. Buddy Matthews is a phenomenal wrestler. You know what I mean? He's like a bit of Kenny Omega and a bit of Seth Rollins with like the body of like Neville. You know what I mean? Like, I wish that they would develop a character for him so that we could see him in some more singles matches. I'd like to see him in matches against guys, like Takeshita. I like to see him in matches with guys like Bryan Danielson. I like to see him in matches with guys like Kenny Omega. Like, Buddy Matthews is a phenomenal wrestler. He just needs some character work to make you care about him as a singles competitor. I mean, Buddy Matthews, from the second he's been in AEW, has been a part of a faction. He's been a part of the House of Black. He's just been one guy in a grouping of three, let alone a group of guys who have yet to really win any significant feuds in some time, who haven't been on TV in some time after they had Malachi Black take some time off. So, like, the group of House of Black as a whole, like, needs some revamping. Like, they need to start feuding with the Elite now because, like, they were dominating everybody as a trios group. And now, like, the trios champs have been decided. They stopped this, best of seven. I guess, like, they're going to beat a couple of, like, no-name trios. Like, I have a feeling that the next trio that they're going to face is going to be Top Flight and AR Fox. I think that's the next matchup for the Elite because they had Top Flight beat the Young Bucks last week, so they could always use that as a springboard for Top Flight and another guy to have some sort of trio shot. So, we'll see. But I would love to see more of Buddy Matthews in any capacity on television. Darby Allin wins. At the end of the match, Shivani comes in. He was listing the a list of accolades for Darby ever since he's won the TNT belt. And before Darby could respond, Samoa Joe comes up on the screen. He said he's coming to take everything from Darby Allin. He's going to take back what's rightfully his. He said that winning that title was the biggest mistake of his career. And he's like, that the king has spoken. He's the king of television. Because remember, Samoa Joe is still the reigning ROH TV champion. So I guess they're going to do a rubber match between Darby Allin and Samoa Joe. And if I'm remembering the booking for next week correctly without looking at my notes, it looks like it's going to be Darby versus Samoa Joe next week in a no DQ match, which, to be quite honest, is the only way that Darby has a conceivable chance of winning, since they're playing up this story that Darby has been beaten up and beaten down the last 4 weeks as he's determined to defend this TNT title every week at no matter the cost. So, yeah, so that's how I see it going. It's obviously going to end in some sort of like hardcore finish with Darby Allin coming away with the victory. Eventually, Darby Allin is going to lose this belt, due to the single fact that he's beating the shit out of his own body. So, I don't know. Who knows? We get a highlight video on Adam Cole's return. Obviously, anyone who thought that Adam Cole was immediately going to start wrestling matches on Dynamite after his promo a couple of weeks ago, that was not feasible. Adam Cole definitely has a timetable to return. It's definitely, I have no sources. This is just what I'm inferring based on the way they're showcasing Adam Cole. This is my opinion. So what I think is that they have some sort of reasonable timetable for Adam Cole to come back. And my belief is that it's going to be by Revolution. So whatever he's doing right now, as long as he keeps it up and there's no setbacks, he should be set to go by Revolution, which I believe is in March. So that leaves Adam Cole about 6 weeks to heal up. And at some point in time, in the midst of that 6 weeks, they have to build up a contender for him to fight that will make his return even more worthwhile. So that's my guess. That's my hunch. That's my opinion. That Adam Cole's first match would be at Revolution. It makes sense for Adam Cole's first match to be at Revolution. There is no fucking way you should give away Adam Cole's first match back for free. Because then, after you've given it away, after you've made people pay for it, then you could promote Adam Cole's first match back on Dynamite. Then you could get people watching Dynamite because he's going to wrestle on it for the first time. So why put all your eggs in one basket? Make people pay for it first. Give it to him free second. Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and the current FTW champion Hook defeat Ethan Page versus Matt Hardy. The majority of this match was in picture-in-picture. They haven't really explained the relationship between all parties involved. That's like Page and Hathaway and Matt Hardy and Private Party. And they only have really talked about this on their less watched programming, which is Rampage and literally fucking on Dark Elevation. They've been progressing this storyline. So here's my worry with the whole thing. AEW, it does not shy away from making two singles guys into a tag team and making them tag team champions. They did that with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. They did it with Isaiah Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. And I have this feeling in my gut, and I hopefully I'm wrong because I don't want this to happen. I think that Jungle Boy and Hook might be the next AEW tag team champions. They're beating too many tag teams as a tag team. They're actually on a roll. Why else are you going to have them go on a roll beating tag teams? You know what I mean? Like, they're just beating random people. I mean, at first the only reason that they got together was because they teamed up to go after the Firm. But like, you know what I mean? Like, why else are they going to be winning matches for, if not to have them challenge for the belt? And to be quite honest, like, what, you're going to have... you're not going to have Hook take the pin. Hook has been undefeated since he got to AEW. Are you going to have Jungle Boy take the pin? The guy that they're trying to build up as a single star who's eventually supposed to have a high-profile match against Christian Cage whenever Christian Cage is healthy? Because you know that fucking match is coming. You know that they're kind of just, like, in orbit with Jungle Boy and his career until Christian comes back, because they obviously have big things for that. So... I don't know. But they won. They beat Hardy and Ethan Page. No one really knows why they're a tag team. It kind of just feels like an inside joke on television. I barely know that they are running storylines about this on Rampage and Elevation, because I rarely watch Rampage and Elevation. At least anymore. It used to be I watched them all the time. It used to be good shit, but I don't know what's going on. Like, I guess there's just, I don't know. I guess I just have better things to watch. let's see. All right, so oh man, I think my posture's been shit for the last couple of days, and like it just makes my rib cage hurt. So if you see me just like grabbing myself, it's just because I'm kind of in pain. Um, they do a backstage interview with Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette's with Hangman Adam Page. She kind of digs a little bit deeper about his vague response as to what's next for him. And Hangman kind of lets out that the thing that he really wants to do next is knock out Jon Moxley again. So it obviously put Hangman in a little bit of an awkward position that he's talking of. So he's being interviewed by the wife of the guy who he wants to knock out, who's the father of her child. So, but Hangman he's like, we are 1-1, and I want to have one up on Jon Moxley. So, next week, Hangman and Jon Moxley at it again in Ohio, the scene of the crime where Hangman got knocked out. So, I'm expecting Hangman to win because I think that it is also going to be critical to him eventually challenging MJF for the belt. So, because I think Hangman is going to challenge again for the belt, and I think it's going to be against MJF. I also think that Eddie Kingston is going to be a contender for this belt eventually. He's going to lose, but I think he's definitely going to be a contender for the belt against MJF. MJF's too good of a talker, and Eddie Kingston is too big of a star within the AEW fan base for them to do anything else. So, yeah. Oof. God damn. That hurts like a son of a bitch. Bryan Danielson defeats the Ring of Honor six-man tag champion, well, 1/3 of the six-man tag champs, Brian Cage. It was a better match than I thought it was going to be. I'm not really a fan of Brian Cage. Like, I just feel like a guy like him needs to have good character for me to, have a good character for me to care about him. There needs to be time, like, when he speaks on the mic, I want to listen. And when Brian Cage speaks on the mic, like, I don't want to listen because whatever he says, it's always just very formulaic and cliche, and it never feels like he has anything of true substance to say. And when he does string together a bunch of coherent sentences, it just seems unnatural for it to be coming out of Brian Cage. So it's like, I just can't get into it. I can't get into his character. I can't get into his wrestling. I just can't do it. So I had very low expectations for this match. I thought this match was totally going to blow. But I forgot he's in the ring with Bryan fucking Danielson, one of the greatest wrestlers alive. So Bryan Danielson ended up in a great match. He ends up defeating Brian Cage. Brian Cage attacks him after the bell. They go after the arm. Who's the person who ends up saving Danielson? Who ends up saving him? Konosuke Takeshita runs to the ring and saves Danielson, which I'm shocked because earlier in the night, Wheeler Yuta challenged Hangman, which is actually what I forgot to mention in the Hangman promo. So the Blackpool Combat Club was there, but I guess Danielson isn't a part of them anymore, but he has BCC on his tights. I don't know. All I know is that Danielson got left out to dry. They were beating the ever-loving shit out of him. They were about to take out his arm. And Takeshita makes the save. So yeah, they had a commercial break. When we got back from the break, Renee Paquette was backstage with the doctor. Danielson's so the doctor said there was some sort of dislocation. Danielson doesn't care. He said he's wrestled an hour injured before, and he's going to expose MJF for the fraud that he is. And he's not going to stop. And the doctor will never stop Danielson from wrestling ever again. And he's going to go on to be the AEW champion. So they are building a storyline where Danielson, no matter what, is going to fight and claw his way to fighting MJF no matter what. He's going to put MJF through the ringer. And if any of you knows anything about storytelling and wrestling, it is abundantly clear that Danielson will lose at Revolution to MJF, more than likely due to some sort of fuckery. So, yeah. Ruby Soho defeats Toni Storm. They're kind of doing this thing now in the women's division where they're talking about the outsiders and the originals. So it's like people like Toni Storm and Saraya who have come from WWE, even though they're not going to directly mention WWE they're just mentioning it as came from elsewhere or started elsewhere. Then you got talent like, well, I don't know why they consider Ruby Soho an original. She was from WWE as well, but I guess she's siding with the originals just because she has I guess, a deeper indie relationship. I mean, I don't know who has a deeper relationship with the indies than Paige. I mean, her parents actually like have a wrestling promotion in the UK scene, but whatever. There's, siding with people like Sheeta and blah blah blah. So that, I guess, is going to be some sort of ongoing storyline in the women's division for the foreseeable future. It was I think, who won this match? Ruby Soho picks up the victory against Toni Storm with a distraction from Britt Baker, who they said was injured, and that's why she wasn't in the match. So I'm curious as to what the fuck is going on with Britt Baker. Is she injured? Is she not injured? Was it a ploy to get one up on the Outsiders? Who knows? I'm not sure. But the storyline goes on. MJF is in a dimly lit room. He makes fun of Takeshita. He said, despite being injured, Danielson will keep marching to Revolution like a hero. That's what the fans think, but not MJF. He said his Triple B, which is the Big Burberry belt, is the only thing that gets him out of bed in the morning. He said the belt makes him better than you, and you know it. He asked Danielson if he has a hole in his soul and is trying to fill it with the title. He said physical pain is fleeting, mental pain will leave a scar. Next week on Dynamite, Danielson will face a man who enjoys pain, and it's Timothy fucking Thatcher, who's going to be fighting Bryan Danielson next week on Dynamite, which is awesome. I was actually kind of hoping that they got... Here's what I'm hoping. In the list of people that Danielson has to fight to get to MJF, I would like one or two of said people to be Zack Sabre Jr. or Kenny Omega. We all have been waiting for the Kenny Omega match. Kenny Omega is a champion. He could take the loss. Danielson could take the win. They could have a rubber match because they had a tie. Danielson wins. This opens an opportunity for a third match, which you should do at Grand Slam and have Kenny Omega beat Bryan Danielson in New York. I think that would be a baller main event. And then, what the fuck was I going to say? And then, also, Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson, it writes itself. I mean, you could have Zack Sabre Jr. take the loss. He's a guy from New Japan. I don't think he has any titles right now, if I'm not mistaken. So there doesn't have to be really a title on the line. Or if he does have a title, he could not put it up and still be over as a champion. But like that, like it has to be, for me, if you're going to make Bryan Danielson go through all these matches, I want to care about each of the matches. I want these matches to be worth... If you're going to have Danielson lose at the end, I want these matches to be worth my time. Which means if you're going to make Danielson go on a streak of victories, start planning out awesome people for him to beat and have wins with. I'm shocked that he had... Well, I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm shocked that he had the match that he had with Brian Cage. I actually thought that was a really solid match. But, like, if he's going to fight Thatcher... Like, now I'm thinking dream matches now. Now I'm thinking, like, get Zack Sabre Jr. up in this bitch and have him fight as Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson as, like, the main event of a Dynamite would be fucking awesome. Anywho, we got Taz and Shivani. They left commentary. Excalibur is joined by Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman. So they could do the main event match of the night, which is Jay Lethal versus Mark Briscoe. Let me just get to my notes for the final match. Mark Briscoe comes out to a huge reaction. You could tell everyone was emotional. I mean, Jay Lethal on his way to the ring, you could tell was in tears. Him hugging Sanjay Dutt, who was also in tears. Both were wearing Mark Briscoe t-shirts. They adhered to the code of honor, which was the handshake to begin every Ring of Honor match. Phenomenal match. We got the Froggy Bow outside of the ring through the table. We got the J Driller. They were chopping the shit out of each other. It was an awesome match. The J Driller was what ended up sealing the deal for Jay Lethal, and Mark Briscoe gets the victory. Fantastic match. The entire AEW roster was on the ramp to greet the Briscoe brother. He hugs Tony. He hugs a whole bunch of people in the roster. Holds up the ROH tag belts. Tells his brother and his family and his brother's kids that he loves them, and that was for them. Very emotional ending to the night. It was a guy that many people in the wrestling community loved. He was a guy that, he had his faults just like the rest of us. And his faults were made very public, unlike the rest of us. He's going to be missed. He was an amazing wrestler. He was a part of an amazing tag team, which came off a trilogy of amazing matches with FTR. So I'm glad that Warner allowed Tony Khan and AEW to do this show, to have this match. I'm glad that they were able to put the tribute show on YouTube. It was a sad time, but I felt like they honored him in a good way, and the show must go on. Life must go on. And the next week is another episode of Dynamite. Next week, I will be covering Dynamite. I will be giving you guys my thoughts and a recap of the Royal Rumble, which I will be watching live that night. So I'm very excited to see what's going on. So there is going to be a lot to talk about next week. So do not miss next week. Tune in live right after Dynamite to this channel, Smells Like Wrasslin. Next week will be episode 51. I appreciate all your support, Royal and Josh and Daisy in the chat. Thank you very much. I will see you all next week for episode 51, Royal Rumble recap, Dynamite review. Don't miss it. Check you guys later.